Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series, the Unported playlist, where we now take a look at 21 of my favorite arcade games that were never given home releases, and today we're taking a look at Ninja Baseball Batman, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, but it is an absolutely incredible game that you 100% should check out. Now the basis of the story is, you're one of these 4 robotic anthropomorphic baseball figures, and you need to recover stolen Hall of Fame items for the Commissioner. That is the story. But as you can see here, we're playing as this giant gold robot, and I chose him because for some strange reason he reminds me of Hedonism Bot from Futurama. You'll just have to go with it. And right off the bat, we are fighting these anthropomorphic baseballs and other sort of strange characters. The game is absolutely colorful, it's an awesome beat 'em up, it's weird, it's wild, it has everything you would want in an arcade game. And this is definitely one that has never had a port before and absolutely should have, because the game is extremely rare. If you're looking for a PCB on this, good luck finding one. If you do find one, open up your wallet because you're definitely going to pay for it. It did release in the US, but in very limited numbers, so trying to find a US copy, you probably just won't. You'd have to wait for a very big arcade collector to kind of release those out. And now you have these gloves here, kind of look like turkeys, and they've got giant tongues that spit out at you and grab you. All of the character designs in this game are just like a fever dream of somebody's madness, but they all work extremely well as far as the sort of shtick of the game's concerned. What I think we're dealing with here is a robot umpire, kind of looks like the umpire gear to me, and you have these green baseballs as well, and pretty much everything is baseball themed. As you get into later levels, you will see that there are some instances in where the enemies turn into squids or other things that are maybe like culturally Japanese and might not be having anything to do with baseball, but the overall theme is robotic ninja baseball Batman. And it sounds as crazy as it is, but I assure you this game is 100% worth your time to check out, because as an arcade release it did really well in Japan, but it kind of went by the wayside. But after it was able to be emulated, it really found a brand new audience. And this is one of those games that everyone talks about when they say games that should have been brought home. And even today, with all the modern consoles, with the Steam, with all the platforms, you still cannot buy a copy of this game physically or even digitally unless you buy the PCB. So emulation really is the only way to play this. I would absolutely add this to my collection if I could find it at a decent price, but honestly that's probably just never going to happen, so emulation even for me is the route to go, because there's sort of a balance I always take between, is the PCB worth it at the price that I would have to pay versus how much do I love the game. I really love Ninja Baseball Batman, but the prices are pretty outrageous on something like this, so I'd really have to be jonesing for a really special PCB in my collection. You will see there are a few graphical glitches in the emulation, nothing to do with the gameplay whatsoever. It's responsive, all the graphics are fine, but in the screen transitions between stages, things break down a tiny bit, but nothing really that's going to matter or affect the gameplay. And then you get this little buggy car here, also looks like a robot, and you just get to drive it through stuff and smash everything around. And now we're dealing with these pumpkin-headed guys with bats. Nothing in this game makes sense. You really have to just put your suspension of belief front and center when you're dealing with something like Ninja Baseball Batman, because if you actually start thinking too analytically about what's going on, it really gets strange. But if you just go into it to have fun, to play an awesome arcade beat 'em up, you're 100% going to have a great time with this game. And I do love that Irem blimp that flies behind the background, because graphically this game throws around a ton of sprites. All the colors are really amped up, they're really vivid, and I don't even know, these are like grape Kool-Aid clouds coming in, who knows. And then we have this gigantic boss character made of a bunch of baseballs, and that's just how the game works. It's weird, it's quirky, and you're going to have a smile on your face the entire time you're playing it. It deserves all the credit it gets as a hidden gem in a game that should have been ported home in some way, shape, or form. But I get it, it came out in 1993. I mean, it could have possibly gone to the PlayStation. I'm sure it would have had graphical cuts, and I would assume that the Sega Saturn would have been able to handle it with that 4MB RAM cartridge expansion. But unfortunately, we just didn't get it. And the interesting thing about the game in general is that the entire concept was developed in North America, because Irem had an office in Washington. So while it is a Japanese developed game, the concept came from America, which makes some sense. Obviously, America is the biggest baseball market. But if you think about it, the Japanese love baseball too. Baseball in Japan is as big of a pastime as it is in America. You might not hear about it as much, but it's definitely a thing over there. So it makes sense that the North American version would come up with this concept and then the Japanese division would do the programming and kind of use that shared love of baseball to make a game. But you definitely have a lot of Japanese influences because we just got an eel in a little bento box there, and that is a health up. So you have that mix of classic Americana baseball with Japanese kind of food and influences, things like that. But it is really interesting that it was a concept that came out of North America where the game barely released there. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm sure it's left to history as to why this wasn't bigger in America, but I certainly see how this could end up unported because originally the audience wasn't huge, and then you wait, 2-3 years for the new systems to come out that could actually handle it. It probably just wasn't something that was worth that much to Irem to bring over, and it's ended up left in the arcades. And I do like the fact that you get these little bonus stages between levels, and they're actually achievable. A lot of the times I feel like the arcade bonus levels to get an extra life are basically impossible to complete because they don't really want you to get that extra credit. But in Ninja Baseball Batman, you actually can beat these little mini stages, and you do get that extra life. So I would say the game is challenging, but fair. What I want to do now is just listen to this next stage. The soundtrack's awesome, the graphics are great, so I just want to let you listen to that a little bit, and I'll come back and close out Ninja Baseball Batman. But enjoy Hedonism Bot here, beating up a playing card. Now we're on to the next boss, which is this bat slot machine. I'm not sure if he's made anything out of baseball parts because it is just a slot machine, which looks like it has claws, but who knows what's going on. And then you have those baseball showgirls in the background and these dice that have baseballs built into them. In some way, Ninja Baseball Batman is almost too weird for its own good. I love that about it, but I could see when they were thinking about what games should we port to home consoles, maybe they just realized, how do you market something like this? Maybe in Japanese arcades it's really easy, but if you're releasing this in North America, how do you get people to really understand the concept of it? Because now we have what I think are baseballs with some sort of submarine attachment, and then we have these gigantic squid-like creatures that have smaller squids underneath them. And that's what I love about the game, but that's also why I think it would have never been ported home. Maybe a Sega Saturn Japanese release could have been possible, but honestly the amount of effort to port it probably wasn't worth it because the market would have been so narrow for something like this, because you can't deny the fact that it is absolutely absurd at face value. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I kind of love it for that. I mean, what other game do you get to beat up baseballs that are also robotic spiders? It's just so unique that there's really nothing like it. I mean, granted, beat 'em ups are a huge genre, and this definitely feels similar to some beat 'em ups, but as far as how it looks, what other game are you going to have tanukis with sort of Fred Flintstone cars coming at you? And that's why we definitely 100% recommend this game. It's very easy to emulate, it's 100% worth checking out. You're never going to find anything quite like it. And it's a really good game. It's challenging enough, but it's fair enough so you don't feel like you're, well, honestly, not wasting quarters, but technically could be. And it's just one of those games that you have to experience at least once because there's nothing else like it. There's a ton of beat 'em ups, there's a ton of genres of beat 'em ups, but there's only one where you play as robotic baseball Batman trying to rescue the commissioner, even if, spoiler alert, in the end, the commissioner is the bad guy. And I really have cut a lot of this game apart, but I will upload a full playthrough later on so you can experience the game from start to finish if you don't feel like playing it. But I was trying to just show different parts of Ninja Baseball Batman to be able to give you guys a sense of just how amazing, absurd, and crazy it is. Because now we're fighting this mechanical alligator, and I know a lot about baseball, but not everything, but I've never seen an alligator involved in the sport. But short of that, that is Ninja Baseball Batman, a crazy awesome game. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe. Episodes take us a long time, and we really appreciate your support. Short of that, we have an episode on Tuesday and Friday, and we'll be back on Sunday with another Unported arcade game. But thanks so much for watching, and we hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and enjoy the rest of the mechanical alligator fight. Bye-bye.